Hello and welcome to my ongoing look at Trails Through Daybreak Part 2. Here we reach the big bad guy, the Gardenmaster, after a chaos-driven Act 3. We had tons of rollbacks due to bad ends, but somehow we kept the Genesis we got even after rolling back 3 days to a point where we didn't have any of them. How does that even work?
I hate temporal mechanics.
Whatever. Up ahead, that looks like brainwashed Lapis, the Gardenmaster, and a Clark Kent version of the Red Grendel. Let's get this done.
Well, isn't this a surprise? You've clambered inside before the corrosion could even begin. No doubt it was your 3 days of fruitless, ungainly struggles that led you here. Perhaps a round of applause is in order.
Took long enough for you to show.
There's the 8th Genesis, and that man in the coat.
Otherwise known as the beast clad in crimson armor.
So this is where you've been carrying out the corrosions from.
That's right. Nice of you and your friends to join us, Spriggan.
He really is different from before.
Obstinate mules. Not one speck of grace or elegance to be found among you. Even after failing over and over again, you picked yourselves up and trudged all this way. And I'd do it again in a heartbeat. That's just how important you and S are to me. You should know what a greedy girl I am. I won't stop for a second until I've got you all to myself. Just hang tight. You'll be home free before you know it. Then you won't have to let this freak boss you around anymore.
Oh, come now, Nadia. No fond feelings to spare for your brother. And after all it took to reunite us, you were everything to me.
Haven't you tried to get into her head enough? And not just her. Your corrosion has brought harm to so many others, forcing them into committing crimes they never would have considered. My great-grandfather left the Genesis behind as his legacy. I won't allow you to abuse them like this.
Never would have considered. Surely you jest. Their misdeeds were always within the realm of possibility. My contributions amounted to no more than a slight push. It was they, as well as several of you, who stepped out of line. Am I wrong?
That's not...
Oh, sure. As if you've been such a goddamn saint!
We'd been wondering for some time now. What was it that led you to incite these incidents?
Each and every one was its own self-contained case rooted in people's personal affairs. How would that link back to your ultimate plan, logically speaking?
Here's a theory. The corrosion and distortion themselves are what you've been after.
Perhaps the closest we came to the crux of things was the coup that took place on the 3rd day.
Rather than simply targeting emotional vulnerabilities, as had been done until then, you relied on cheap tricks to induce widespread corrosion.
Once we'd gotten 4 of the Genesis back, keeping up appearances was the last thing on your mind. Thanks to that, we managed to edge our way closer to the truth, hiding behind your smarmy little smirks.
To call it hidden is rather an overstatement. Ignorant fools such as yourselves could never hope to grasp my noble cause. It's as simple as that.
Noble cause?
I remember you touching on that a bit. Something about rewriting Calvard's broken history, right?
Sounds like the ravings of a lunatic to me.
I can hardly expect you to comprehend. For the past 100 years, this country's poor, beloved citizens have been forced to tread a history steeped in falsehoods. But soon, I will shatter this illusion and guide the way. Those who stand in the way of my hegemony will meet a pitiless end. The time has come, Altera. Fulfill your purpose! Let the howl of the Crimson Beast herald the beginning of a new dawn!
Shard corrode! The Grendel's online!
Get ready to kick some ass, guys!
This is our chance to put an end to the corrosion, here and now.
He's gonna pay for making a bootleg of my brother. And then, we're taking you back, LP! Engaging shards.
The dawning of a new world is upon us.
Now fight!
There is so much I could talk about. How the last of the 3 days we had to regain the Genesis was boring fight after boring fight to stop a coup d'etat. Been a while since we had one of those. How Nadia's role in this was vital but ultimately disappointing after she ran away. How the story seems to fall apart in front of my eyes. But let's get into other things first. Leading up to this was a fight against Corroded Swin. Only he was corroded by choice, if that makes any sense. He was approached by brainwashed Lapis, and instead of talking her out of her current state of being brainwashed like he and Nadia did the first time, where it almost worked, mind you, if the Gardenmaster hadn't intervened, he just follows her. We just have to roll with a lot of things here, which is never a good sign for your story. Anyway, he may or may not show up here later on. The fight with him was the first one, which was a little challenging, since his S-Crafts hitting people he marked beforehand can do quite a lot of damage. And you had the extra challenge to not get anyone KO'd in that fight, so you needed to keep your health up while fighting his zoo of demi-Grendels next to him. I've been thinking of the form Lapis has here. The Red Fairy Carmine Altera. So is that a wordplay with alteration? It's also a copy of Mare. Only that Mare is blue and definitely not a hollow. When her real name came up, we had this blur that we had with other beasts of old, names that time has forgotten. Time. And still I think this all ends with the Septarian of Time in some way. Which means, maybe Mare is the beast that comes alongside these Septarians? I would guess that's what the Gardenmaster is after? Maybe? Could also mean the Oathbreaker didn't really defect from the society, and this was yet another part of the Grandmaster's plan to get to the Septarians. Another thing that was just there for some brief moments, Nina acted strange at 2 points in this act. Brooding about things in Twilight Tower, and there was her at some point on day 3 in Act 3, where she mumbled something about that's all she could do for them, meaning our heroes. Weird, but the amount of possibilities of what that means are just way too many to actually even start speculating. I really don't think this is the final fight. Just like with the first encounter with Dantes, we are going to get more after this, for sure. There's so much missing here too. The pure fact that this Gardenmaster can't really be Nadia's brother, so some kind of phantasma, maybe whether we like recreation? We had 2 of those as final opponents on the last day of Act 3 before we were thrown back in time to get to this encounter. Okay, maybe a short summary is in order, because Act 3 was complicated. We started day 1, got a Genesis after defeating Corroded Ashen, had to choose between 2 paths on day 2, and I chose path 2 since that made more sense in my mind. Celise was corroded, and Leon was saved from the corrosion by a stigma, but it was sealed in the process. We had to unseal his stigma and got another Genesis after beating Celise. Next morning, we all die since we don't have enough Genesis to survive. At least that's what the game told me. And we have to take the other choice at the start of day 2, which is the one with Yume and Maxime. I talked briefly about it. So we get another Genesis, survive the attack on day 3 since we now have enough of them, get another Genesis from Fairy, see my last video. Then we die because of a falling airship due to that coup d'etat chaos. We get ported back to the start of day 3 and have a combat heavy day where everyone and their son that was part of Daybreak 2 is involved. We normally get a fight or two, then some of our friends come to our aid and take over so we can move again. This happens a few times until we get to the final boss of that day. After defeating that, we get, you guessed it, another Genesis. But then a corrosion explosion or something like that evaporates reality. Only in the last few seconds, a soul Anis hears Nadia's voice, Nadia shows up and gives us Genesis number 7, which she obviously got off screen, and we get pushed back 3 days to the start of Act 3 on day 1. Here we start to find the way into this zone where the Gardenmaster hides. Every time loop we get to keep our captured Genesis, which is a temporal anomaly and a half, but since the Genesis are the source of the time shenanigans in the first place, it's less odd than one might think. At least that's what I tell myself. So back to this fight. We don't really have much to say about the fight. It's the same old. This game's tactical fights just don't give you much. The Gardenmaster and the Grendel are both strong opponents, for sure. Their damage isn't that low, but it's also not that impressive. I guess I will have to do another video about the tactical fights and explain in detail why they just don't work in these Daybreak games. I think it's gotten even worse in Daybreak 2 than in Daybreak 1. They did tweak the action fights on the map, where you hit the opponents to get an advantage in the later tactical fight, or just plain out defeat them on the field without a tactical fight, but they actually didn't do anything good with the tactical fights, even though they must have seen they are not very good in the first game. So why is that? They had a lot of other things done here. We have some side games like these hacking games where you have to maneuver your mare or maybe another drone through a labyrinth, avoiding some kind of security measures and hacking yourself through barriers. That's interesting, and it was quite difficult actually, because there was a timer and sometimes you didn't even know where to go, and hacking the logs was quite a hassle since you had to push your buttons in a correct order, and there were 6 different buttons, so you could misclick and then you had to start from the first part of the sequence, but there was this timer and you might have to do it once more, but the overall timer was still ticking, and well, these really drove me nuts. I hate it when these things are on a timer. The fishing game actually improved. I think this was the best one. It still had some kind of game behind it, but it wasn't that convoluted like in Cold Steel. So this was refreshing. They offered a basketball game, which I didn't really get. I did not get how or why this would work and what I had to do, so I skipped it altogether. There was a new card game. They really like their card games ever since Cold Steel 1. But they never really gave me a good card game. Blade, which was the game in Cold Steel 1 and 2, was more or less the best one, and they reused it in Tokyo Xanadu. Seven Hearts, the card game of Daybreak 2, might just be the worst of them all. It's a pure luck-based card game that doesn't offer anything in the strategy department. 4 players at a table, you get some cards that can do 2 damage to the next in line, unless he can answer it with a damage or a joker card. If it's another damage card, the next person could receive 4 damage, if he or she doesn't have the correct card on hand. So it's pure luck, and rolling the dice a few times would be more or less the same. I like my card games with a little thinking involved. Falco minigames have always been hit or miss. Sometimes they were surprisingly hard. At other times, like the magical girl shooter in Reverie, they are just pure fun. And at other times they are like the basketball game here. 100% skip. So, back to this fight. It's still going on. But both of these opponents are pretty low now. I don't think they will last much longer. I think one of the most dangerous things here is getting impatient and have some back-to-back S-crafts against you. Because, well, that's the only way they could do enough damage to actually get one person down. If you heal up after an S-craft, there's no chance they do anything significantly against you. But then again, they are pretty fast, they show up in a turn order way more often than your guys, so they might squeeze in a few more attacks than you want them to. The key player here is, in the end, Anise. I think another thing you should look out for is that Van can always get to Anise and give her some of that revive stuff with extra CP, so she can push the emergency button afterwards. And everything will be fine, because as long as she is there, you can't lose. She will just heal and revive everybody on the fly. Since I do want to make another video about the tactical fights and how they actually work in Daybreak, I don't want to talk too much about the mechanics now. So, as we can see, Van is not in his Grendel form. That means this is just the first fight of at least 2. We will have back-to-back boss fights. This is not over. Wonder what I will have to talk about in part 2 of this fight, because I already talked about the mini games, because I don't have much to say about the fight itself.
We did it!
Wait! He's still got something up his sleeve!
Was that a rewind?
A highly localized one, too. And to make things worse, it's enhancing them even further.
They can do that?
Why so hesitant? You've capitalized on this power countless times yourselves. Were you not resolved to oppose my ardent wish, the way my former compatriots once did?
This asshole thinks he's such hot shit!
We won't stand a chance unless we stop the Genesis and that fairy from empowering him.
But to do that, we'll have to force our way through the Crimson Beast and the Vanguard.
This is quite a predicament.
Hey, Grendel Zolga. I'm gonna ask again. Just who the hell are you? Why let that bastard call the shots when you're the one who holds all the power?
How pointless. That thing is no one worth mentioning. I merely chanced upon it when I obtained the core of the Eighth. It's little more than a replicated spirit that had been dwelling within that device.
He was inside it?
A replicated spirit? Could the system have simulated it somehow?
For real?
Yes. It is a pitiful tool and nothing more. A beast with no name or memory to speak of. And yet, the power of corrosion it possesses has brought me that much closer to realizing my grand ambitions. What else could this be if not Providence? The great goddess herself has ordained my rule by might.
Are you done? My ears can't take anymore. If that guy's just being manipulated, then I can still feel some level of sympathy for him. The better question is, who are you, Gardenmaster? Ace and I were separated when I was only 9. Until you showed your face, I never connected the dots. And that's despite me being his actual sister. Despite us being so torn that he let himself get corroded. But it turns out my gut was right. There's no way you could ever be my brother. And you can bet your bottom mirror on that. I mean, come on. Everything that leaves your mouth is so cheesy, you could serve it with a basket of toast.
What mockery is this?
You spew out words that make you sound big, but anyone can tell how small you really are.
It's true. I don't think you have what it takes to lead anyone.
The overseers of the gardens, the mafia, the society, all of them had actual substance at least.
In comparison, your ways are twisted and warped. They are sorely lacking in authenticity.
And most importantly, I can't imagine someone like you ever inspiring Swin's genuine trust.
Just so we're clear, I don't actually care all that much about who you really are. But for your information, my brother did everything he could for me and S until his very last breath. So why don't you drop the act and impersonate someone more your speed next time? You shallow, half-baked hack!
Blasted girl! You dare ridicule me?
Nadia!
You son of a... I had intended to spare you out of consideration for my pawn, but no longer. You will leave this world as a sacrifice of the true revolution!
Stop!
Die.
Think again!
You fraud!
Gotcha! LP! Unhand me, foolish girl!
Let's go!
The 8th Genesis. And now it's all ours! Splendid work.
You finally arrived at the truth.
Curse you, Swin Abel! How did you dispel the corrosion that you voluntarily received?
Blame yourself for letting me out of it, Gardenmaster. He was the one who taught me how it works.
No, it can't be.
The corrosion you allowed into yourself is akin to a contract. Once a discrepancy in the terms agreed upon crosses a certain threshold, the shackles that bind you will be released.
I was to accept and obey for as long as you continued to be Ace. So I decided to make a gamble. I waited. Waited for you to do the one thing Ace never would. Raise a finger against Nadia.
So the man in the coat conspired with you?
Huh?
Well, I had some unexpected help from outside, too.
Think of it as a bit of meddling from a distant auntie. This should grease the wheels a touch. Now, give him what for, won't you, darlings?
She helped?
That woman always did have an odd sense of duty.
Nadia, I can't tell you how sorry I am. Putting you in danger is awful enough. But I went a step further and hurt you myself.
I always knew you were in there somewhere else. That look in your eyes never changed. It's the same one you had when you said you'd never leave me.
It was risky. I was banking on breaking out of the corrosion and leaving him vulnerable. I know it was selfish of me, but I figured if anyone would understand.
How could I not, silly? You and me aren't a perfect pair for nothing.
Nadia.
This warmth. Why do these two feel so familiar?
They're finally back together.
It only took, what, 4 or 5 time loops?
We're happy for you both.
Yeah. Now on to our last bit of business.
Wretches, all of you!
So much for that high and mighty attitude.
It's the end of the line for you!
You've lost your false face, the Genesis, and every one of your pawns. This is checkmate.
Now start talking. We want to hear all you know about the incidents that have happened thus far.
Once again am I stripped of everything and cast away. History truly does repeat itself. But I won't be belittled by you ignorant masses.
What now?
A swirl of black shards?
He not only assimilated the Merian Garden's resources, but now the power of Septium Bane as well.
That I am! Even without the Genesis, authority over this domain belongs to me! I'm past the need for peons. The true revolution will be carried out with my own 2 hands! Yes, that's it! Next time will be the one! My ideals shall spread not just throughout the Republic, but to every corner of the continent!
What are you babbling on about?
Interesting.
Not to interrupt, Gardenmaster, but you still haven't answered the question. Remember? Nadia asked who the hell you are. We know you're not the guy she called her brother, or Swin, his partner. But there's gotta be some connection. Else you wouldn't have had the personal details to fool him with.
I'm rather curious about that myself. When you appeared on Nemeth, your words implied a measure of nostalgia.
Only up to this point. Ah, this place brings back so many memories.
Nostalgia? For the island?
Yes, but it likely goes even deeper than that. Consider how often he's talked about correcting history, or this true revolution of his.
Then there's his connection to the DG cult, as well as his emphatic dissent against the current republic.
To my knowledge, those qualities coincide with those of the former royal family, who survived by taking refuge within the cult. But since the cult has its roots in the Middle Ages, it wouldn't be odd if there were other such cases throughout history.
You mean,
Come on. That's just crazy talk.
if it's true, it would mean the impossible has occurred. But think about all the curtains we've pulled back so far. All the unbelievable truths we've glimpsed behind them. I don't have any evidence to prove this, so it may be too far of a leap in logic. But if I had to guess at your identity, one person sticks out in particular. The man who supported Sheena Dirk during the Democratic Revolution 100 years ago. A gifted thinker who ran amok, creating a reign of terror before being put to death. The figure every Calvardian knows, whose ideology aligns all too well with yours. Auguste Alden. That's who you really are, isn't it?
To think the day would come when someone of this era would refer to me by that name.
As you say, I am Auguste Alden. 100 years ago, I hoisted my ideals high and rose up alongside Sheena Dirk and her cohorts.
What?
It's like what happened to Gerard Dantes. Or the Emperor a few years back in Crossbell.
Except this time, it's a whole lot worse.
Hold on. Can we back up to what he just said?
As far-fetched as it sounds. You admit it, right? You're the same Auguste Alden from a century ago. The Revolution's resident philosopher.
Yes, although I made no particular effort to hide it. I simply wished to avoid any undue confusion. Moreover, my name has long been besmirched as that of the mad philosopher who betrayed the mother of the revolution.
You were executed as a political offender. Yet for some reason, here you stand before us. Would the cult happen to have anything to do with that?
Yes, though my relation to them was merely that of a parasite in its host. 100 years prior, I joined Sheena and her followers in standing against the atrocities perpetuated by our monarchy. After a fiercely fought battle, we won our freedom. Every one of us rejoiced, drunk off the prospect of a new age. But this jubilation was short-lived. In the wake of the revolution, it soon became clear that my ideology differed from that of my former compatriots. My disquiet over the Republic's future drove me to forcible methods. Sheena and the others opposed this, and the mindless multitude supported them. I was ultimately labeled a traitor, placed in irons, and sentenced to capital punishment. But in time, by means unknown to me, I awoke. In the darkest recesses of a gloomy cellar, my consciousness lived on. It had been absorbed, zeal intact, by an artifact under the possession of the then active cult. For the next century, I continued to leech off of them, undetected, and observe the world from the shadows. After the destruction of the cult 11 years ago, I was transferred to my new host, the Gardens. Upon their annihilation, I secured an extraordinary simulacrum the overseer of the Garden of Thorns had secretly taken the initiative to create. He had chosen the ultimate template from their vast accumulation of data, the matured body of the Ace of Swords. In addition to that was the core of the 8th Genesis, which he had received from Almada's leader and stored connected to the network. With it, I pilfered the continent's leading AI and developed an altered high-performance holo, as well as the beast clad in crimson armor. Every part was in service of correcting Sheena's self-righteous revolution, of repainting history as it ought to have been.
While it's awfully hard to believe, there are no holes in his story that I can see.
Auguste, the philosopher. His obsession knows no bounds.
My prosthetics were also fashioned after simulacra. So even the Gardens was researching them.
It was Melchior. He made an aged-up clone of Ace all on a whim.
As if his sense of humor wasn't sick enough. Not that stealing Lapis and creating that Crimson Beast is any better.
Then came the incidents that arose throughout Calvard, due in part to the Oathbreaker's aid.
It was you then! You were the one behind them all!
Indeed I was. By using the Crimson Corrosion to weave impossible causalities together, I sought to destabilize the very fabric of space and time. Doing so will grant me a foothold from which I can rewind the Republic and all of Zemuria by 100 years. Aramis, Olga, Sheena, gaze down upon me from Aetios' kingdom. Watch as I actualize the ideals you shut your ears to. The unshakable republic that should have been. In correcting the course of this continent, I shall engulf this malformed narrative you have spun.
He's finally shown his true colors. Now you can see your enemy for what he really is.
Yeah, we're basically up against the dark side of Calvert's history. But so what?
All you do is ramble over what happened a century ago. Ever hear about leaving the past in the past?
You posed as my brother, tortured S, and held LP hostage. All for your stupid little grudge. Gotta say, I don't think I've ever been this ticked off in my life.
Same goes for us. You hurt so many and trampled all over their pride.
Despicable acts like yours are something no Grimcat could ever let slide.
Managing this crisis is my duty to Marduk. And above all, as a member of Arkwright Solutions.
So you're a ghost. Tough shit. That doesn't put you above your just desserts.
Exercising a century's worth of spite? Sounds like a rip-roaring blast to me.
Everywhere I go, the cult's traces follow. But I'm through running away.
In order to preserve the present we've seized for ourselves, I'll crush the past as many times as it takes!
And I refuse to let the Genesees bring any more grief and disaster to others. We'll stop you, no matter what!
Losing isn't an option. Hold nothing back, everyone! No exceptions!
But of course, you have my full support!
Such arrogance for a band of criminals coddled by a misbegotten history! My new dawn has no further need of you. Now vanish into the annals of obscurity!
Get him good, Van!
You bet. Let's do it, guys! This jackass has had things go his way for too damn long. So now, we're gonna even the score in one go! Right!
At last, a new dawn is on the horizon!
Okay, so I don't know how many players did reach this point in the game and ask themselves, who is this guy? I guess he was mentioned briefly when they talked about Calvert's history, since he was among the 4 people at the center of the revolution. Sheena Dirk was the main protagonist here, and we had quite a few things said about her. There was a movie about her, Nina played the role. The guy from Aramis Academy was part of that group, so we did get that part of Calvert's history, but I can't even remember this guy ever mentioned. Liberl, where Trails in the Sky played, was very low-key representing the United Kingdom with a monarchy, there is a queen, while the small land surrounded by mountains seems to be like Switzerland. Crossbell did represent Hong Kong, with 2 bigger states, UK and China, both wanted control over it, while the city itself wants independence. Urbonia is clearly the German Empire prior to World War I. The Blood and Iron Chancellor is clearly meant to be Bismarck, and there are a lot of other things. Now Calvert has definitely a lot of French aspects in it. China ending the monarchy is a nod to the French Revolution. The cultural mix and racism could be a hint to the USA, which is a melting pot but also has a problem with racism. The French Revolution did have phases. The first wave did get replaced with a more radical group which is known as the Jacobin terror regime. Not sure how well the writers looked into it, but that could mean this guy is representing Robespierre. What does that all mean? Nothing much in the end. Since how is this guy the big bad opponent here? Dantes at least had a solid basis. Maybe his plan was stupid, but at least he had a clear goal. This guy, not even sure how his plan would really have worked out in the end. Was his plan to get back almost 100 years in the past and do things differently to win his little counter-revolution? I also find it really convoluted to have a spare ace body lying around. And does this mean he was some kind of spirit that was around the cult's lodge all the time? Until he got transferred to the gardens and inhabited that body? This form he is now in, that's some kind of demon. That's not his original body as far as we know. This is very dissatisfying. It feels so random. The Gardenmaster was hyped up too much during the game. He is quite a pitiful guy in the end. Also, the red Gwendol just left? How? Why? Will we see that guy again? Is that Epstein's ghost? Also, choosing the name Epstein might have been a bit unfortunate on Falcom's part. More interesting, why is Lucrezia helping us so much? The society doesn't show up randomly, and even though executioners are pretty much left to their own devices in their free time, it's still odd. I would also say she is a pretty odd one so far, which might just be due to the lack of real information we have about her. Most executioners are driven by some kind of trauma or are in a way sociopaths or psychopaths. When Joshua Löwe had that childhood trauma thing going and did overcome it in a way. Okay, with Löwe that's debatable, but Joshua and Ren did manage due to the power of Estelle. So what's her real deal? Maybe it's something like Luciola and we get that story later on. Her having an interest in the artifacts from the gardens, well, that can mean anything in the end. I really doubt we are finished with her. Talking about the little stunt Swin pulled with the Gardenmaster and Nadia, that's a copy of what Joshua did in Trails in the Sky 2nd chapter with Wiseman and Estelle. Breaking the mind control after Wiseman used the one command that Joshua prepared a countermeasure to, with the help of Kevin. That was done quite a bit better than here, with more setup and therefore a better payoff, but I don't mind this solution. After all, this is part 12 of the series, and of course there are some themes that will be reused from time to time. Speaking about time, as it looks like I have some time on my hand, even with the Grendel dishing out good damage this health bar will take a while. So maybe some thoughts about the Trails games as a whole and how Daybreak holds up will be a good way to pass some time. I play the Trails games mainly for the characters and the story. The gameplay never seemed to be that important, although it was always solid and in some parts really fun. The first fight in Trails in the Sky against Löwe was really awesome, so I might not even have realized how much I liked the gameplay. Also, yes, Löwe is the German word for lion, and it sounds different when a non-German native speaker pronounces the name. I always loved the world building they had in Trails in the Sky, and they kept that part for most of the other parts of the game. With few exceptions, there wasn't much world building in Trails in the Sky the Third because there wasn't much of a world in that game, and I think Reverie skipped it too. In Daybreak, the world building is a little hit or miss. I like the side stories of the jogging girl in Riverside, or the two girls that formed an idol group. The story around that staged kidnapping and how that played out was great too. Some just didn't work out for me. But the feeling the city is alive and has real people in them is there. First class world building, that's still working out great. The introduction of the core characters in Daybreak is pretty good. It's somewhat like the first game did it, with first teasing the characters and only later have them as part of your group. They did this with Aaron and Wizette, and of course Bergard in Daybreak 1. All of the characters, Bergard aside, have a story arc. Some of them are still ongoing. Anis and Ferida still have something to solve, it seems. With Ferida and her complicated relationship to her brother, and that warrior priestess thing, which somehow ties into the Kruger legacy. They keep teasing us with that, but until now I can't really see where they are going with this. It seems her brother and the greatest warrior did leave the Kruger mainly because of all that, but we are still in the build-up. I would guess it's something religious at its core, but we really don't have much to work with. Anis now has all the Genesis, but why it was important to catch them all is still not clear. What exactly her great-grandfather did build here is hard to tell too. They were described by the Royal Smart people as some kind of proof of concept that would help develop the Orbman technology. But that's cryptic in itself. And I know this isn't the final chapter, only the final villain. Maybe we get a one-off fight like in Daybreak 1 at the end of the final chapter. Or maybe we get something more, and I really hope that, because if it's just a one-off fight, that would feel bad. Looking at that villain, the villains of the Trails series have diminished in quality over time, it seems. Wiseman was the best villain. He planned everything very well. From the start of Trails in the Sky he was around, and even after he got revealed, he was the chess master in the background. Even his society minions didn't really know about the heights of his ambitions. He manipulated everyone to get to his main goal, the aureole. And he wanted it for himself, not for the society. His end by Kevin was also very satisfying, so that's a good villain arc. Maria Bell in From Zero to Azure was not quite on that level, and after her plan did fall apart, she was a little too fast in her acceptance, given that the plan itself was developed by her ancestors and did run a few hundred years. She shrugged it off rather fast and just took over Wiseman's old job. If life gives you lemons, I guess. Cold Steel was a mess. I know I say this so often it loses all meaning, but the main villain here was Ishmelgar, and that felt like the game pulled a black rabbit out of its head. Duke Cayenne as the main antagonist for the first two parts made more sense. At least he was introduced properly, had a clear motivation we could follow. He wasn't great, but he worked. Ishmelgar felt like a last-minute idea, since they wrote themselves into a corner with all the epic build-up, while having a poor protagonist sulking in self-pity didn't inspire anyone either. Damn. I need to stop talking about Trails of Cold Steel. Daybreak 1 had Dantes, and I think he was a good villain, at least until the point where his plans seemed counterproductive to his goals. He wanted the other half of the Demon Core, so I don't think a death game with nukes is the way to go. Also, all the other shenanigans he pulled with the Genesis didn't seem to get him closer to that goal either. At least he and his henchmen made up for that by being extremely ruthless. And now, here we have off-brand Robespierre. So we are more on Ishmalga level of disappointment. If that guy was such an important figure in the Calvert history, maybe explaining him at least as much as Sheena would have been a good idea. Would also make this encounter a little less forgettable. Another character that I could talk about while I have time is Bergard. Now he's a weird one. He was supposed to be dead. Even gave his stigma to Gaius. You know, in between Cold Steel 2 and 3, where all the interesting stuff happened off screen. There we are again at Cold Steel, so much went wrong. Anyway, him showing up here was surprising, to put it mildly. To top it off, we get next to no explanation whatsoever. Hey old man, shouldn't you be dead? Nah, I got better. He shows up at the end of Daybreak 1, has a connection to Van, which makes sense. Half of Samuria has a connection to Van. And somehow nobody presses him to explain how it's possible that he is here, that he is not dead, that he is still alive. I mean, they do have this tendency to push away really important questions with a throwaway phrase like, "Oh, that's not important right now." All the time! Which really drives me up the wall quite often. But this one doesn't even get that far. Speaking of connections to Van, they inserted Van in half the Trails series. Always acting in the background. He was the one helping Van after Trails in the Sky. He helped Nadia and Svin and gave them the case with Lapis for Rufus. He was a student of Bergard, like half of the church it seems. Had connections to the society, even did a job with Walter, was once a prisoner of the D, therefore G-Cult, and so on. I don't mind too much, he's a good protagonist. Not on a stealth level, I would also say Kevin is slightly above him too, but he's up there. It's also a different approach from other protagonists. He's almost like a father figure. His own development is rather mild, but he helps others to develop and grow. Thankfully, he also helps to keep this fight a little shorter, since the Grendel dishes out at least 5 digits every time it's his turn. Only downside in a fight this long is his low EP count, needs a refill every now and then, and I need that to be done by some of the other characters to not lose the Grendel damage. And with that I have explained some of my movements here. And we can see this guy is now on his last leg. I guess I will push him over the edge as fast as I can, because, well, the last S-Craft did catch me off guard. Not that it matters, as long as I can revive Anise and she does the rest, there is no need to be in panic.
Let's do this. My blade is both true and false, dancing in the moonlight.
Behold! Zero's gleam! Boost gauge upgraded.
Au revoir, Robespierre.
Nice. Moving on up.
I'm just gonna keep growing and growing.
One step closer to reaching my peak.
I won't stop here.
It's fading away. 100 years of history remade in my image. Why did you forsake me, Aramis? How could you not understand Ogre? Sheena, I only wished to see the dawn alongside you all.
The Garden's vast data and resource stores are flowing in en masse.
Find something to hang on to! Lapis!
No!
What happened?
Let's see. We jumped into that vortex so that we could rescue... LP!
Lapis, where is she?
Don't worry. She's safe. And it's all thanks to you. Give yourselves a pat on the back.
Huh? No way!
Ace. Is that you?
Yeah. Thanks to you guys. All of the things that made me the person I am were set free. It's been too long. Swin. Nadia.
Ace! You're actually here, right? The real, honest-to-goodness you?
Yep. Or, well, not technically, no. Both myself and this place are being sustained by a portion of the resources the Gardenmaster absorbed. So at best, this is only a temporary...
Nobody asked you to split hairs about it! I missed you so much, Ace! I thought I'd never see you again!
You sure have grown, Nadia. I'm so sorry I never made it back all that time ago. Who would have guessed I'd get a second chance like this? You've become so beautiful. I couldn't be prouder to call myself your brother.
Oh, Ace!
As for you, Swin, you've gotten taller, huh? I've been watching you through it all. Your clash with the Emperor, the incident in Crossbell, and everything from then to now.
Ace. I never got to apologize to you. There had to have been another way. I should have tried harder to find it.
It's all right. Swin, I wanted you to live on. How else would you have saved Nadia? Or lit the first spark that toppled the gardens? I knew my eyes didn't fail me. You really were the best partner a guy could ask for.
Ace!
No.
Already?
Like I said, this meeting can't last forever. My time was running out from the start, but I'm thankful I got to see you again. It's nice to know I won't have to worry anymore. You've made a lot of great friends, both in Crossbell and in Calvert.
LP!
She's okay. Thank goodness.
So long, you two. Whatever comes next, I know you'll make it through just fine. Like always. Promise me that you'll take good care of your little sister here.
Ace!
Don't go!
Nadia!
Come on, Swin. Rise and shine.
Where?
You're finally awake.
Honestly, always making us fret.
We were afraid that we'd lost you. Are you hurt anywhere?
Maybe think before you leap, next time some freak-ass portal starts sucking everybody in.
Well, as long as they made it, then no harm, no foul.
The important part is that you're okay.
Something wrong?
just a dream. I think.
Actually, that was as real can get. LP! Swin? Nadia? Where did Rufus go?
Lapis!
Finally! He went through so much to find you, LP! It feels as though I've been dreaming for a very, very long time. I'm famished. But an extra nap or two won't hurt.
Huh? Did she just go into Nadia's Zypha?
She appears to have been stored as a hollow.
Just give her a chance to recharge for a while. Her alterations have all been reverted, so you can rest easy for now. She'll be up and about again in no time.
That's good. We reunite after this long and she falls fast asleep.
Talk about coming full circle.
Well, at least she won't be going anywhere.
Ugh. I'm feeling pretty run down myself. And this place should collapse soon, so I'll see you later. Oh, and tell her I said hi.
Mare!
Gone already. I guess she's earned a break.
Not to brag, but my brother really came through for us.
Yeah. He had our backs from start to finish. Goodbye, Ace. Thanks for everything.
Normality never felt so good.
Indeed. The garden's stolen resources should be in their rightful place now.
Does that mean it's finally over?
Yes. It has to be. Aside from a few lingering mysteries, that is.
Right. The Gardenmaster's gone. And the Crimson Beast ain't a threat anymore. Seems to me like we can close the books on this one. Though, there's still a few things we gotta keep an eye out for.
You're talking about Ashin, yeah? Her and everybody else who went rogue?
Correct. While the corrosion may be gone, the powder kegs still remain.
They've all got dark clouds over their heads.
Yep. It wouldn't be too much of a shock if a few of them found some other way to get a thunderstorm going again.
That being the case, we'll need to remain vigilant on all fronts over the next 3 days. But for now...
SLP and me. The triple threats are reunited at last.
Nadia, you're probably sick of me asking for forgiveness, but I hope you'll let me stay by your side again. Not to atone for anything, but because I choose to be there.
Really? Well, that's exactly where I want you. Welcome back, S.
It's good to be back, Nadia.
They found their happy ending together. I'm glad.
Yeah, well, we've still got a hectic 3 days ahead of us. But hey, now that you've finally got all your great-granddad's mementos in one place...
About that.
What
So, this is the end for now. This video did go on way longer than I planned. It's definitely not the end of the game. So till next time, bye bye.